All right. Hello, everyone. It's Will McGee here. And man, I am so excited to bring on Brian Attenbring. He is my man crush from Teema. And at the end of the day, this guy has such a big heart and an understanding of what a recruiter really is looking for. And out of all the leaders that I've ever been a part of their organization, Brian has stood out on a whole nother level, just because of his compassion, his understanding, his desire to collaborate and grow individuals. So again, I'm really excited about having him on. So again, Brian, go ahead and tell the people who you are and what's your story, man.
Yeah, Will, listen, thanks so much for having me. And the man crush is right back at you. I really do enjoy the time with you and see you grow. It's just it's great, man. Yes,
Thank you,
so
man.
it's great to be here. So a little bit about myself, maybe. I was a failed entrepreneur in the 90s, as I say. Tried a number of different things and. Most failed. I had one success, but it really was a fail. Just tried a lot of things and didn't work. Couldn't really understand longevity in business and so forth. And I think like most people that are in the staffing recruiting industry, you just kind of you fall into this industry. No one goes to university to say I'm going to become a recruiter, right? And I'm a staffing expert. No, we all kind of fall into this industry, and I was very much like that. I had a friend in the industry and said, "Oh, yeah, you'd be really good at this." And at the time, it was in the early '90s. My last business venture, I should have actually declared bankruptcy. I lost everything. My prior business, I actually did all right. I sold the business. I bought an apartment, got married, paid off my student loans, and then I bought into this advertising business. And in about 18 months, I had lost everything. And but I didn't declare bankruptcy. I paid back creditors and so forth. But I did so getting into the staffing industry. And so this guy who who got me into the industry, and he said, "Yeah, come on." He gave me, showed me a little bit of this and that, and I had to. They offered me this role, but I had to take it. I said, "Listen, I don't want to. I can't do a salary. I got to do commission." And so um, they said, "Yeah," they agreed, and so I did well and been in it ever since. So. Spent my time in the 90s just learning a lot of things about the industry. I mean, there's no textbooks on this stuff. You kind of have to fall on your knees and understand, just don't make those same mistakes, as we all know, and you just keep learning and learning and learning. And the journey that I took, I was in the staffing, the agency world. One of my clients pulled me into one, and I'm like, no, no, no. They wanted to pull me in, and I'm like, well, I'm making really good money off of you guys. I don't really want to go in house. And they just kept pushing and pushing. And I said, okay, I'll do a contract. And I did it for a while, and that's where my soul died. I went in house corporate, and I. But the journey there, it really helped me understand what I don't want. Because a lot of us, we in our journeys of life, we don't really know what we want in life. It's sort of opaque and gray. But what we do know is we really know what we don't want, and that's a lot of it's through experience. So, and that's about 70-80% of the journey of directionally. So directionally, we know we want to go here, but we just don't know how to maybe do it because we've never done it. But over here, we've done is like, no, I don't want any of that stuff. And that's what's really helped me in my own journey within the staffing industry. And it really put the foundation to Teema for what it is today. And I said, clients started calling me back. They said, hey, where are you? What's going on? Can you help me? And I said, if I'm going to build a staffing recruiting industry, I just don't want to do a traditional agency model. I wanted to be just very different. And uh, I said, well, what would big billers want in an agency. And that really sort of, I said, you know, we want unobstructed, we want lots of opportunity, great revenue opportunities, less bureaucracy. We understand the mothership needs to be there from a branding policy. If I want to work with big businesses, they want to work with big businesses. So we have to look big, you know. And so and then I just wanted to change the compensation model upside down. And a lot of naysayers over the years, but here we are today, and you know we're pushing 120 million in revenues this year, and we'll see where we go. So
That's crazy.
how, how's that for like a very long pitch?
That's
Sorry
awesome. I mean,
about that, but
yeah, it's funny because you're absolutely right. You know, when you go into the staffing agency world, like nobody's looking to jump in here. It's like you're pulled in from a friend or an old colleague or somebody who it's like MLM, right?
yeah,
Right?
sure.
Hey,
Like, what is this? I
we've got
mean,
this essential oils here that we'd love to sell to other
the
people.
forgotten stepchild of the business of the industry is like, yeah, it's crazy.
Like it's always this, and it's funny because whenever someone asks me what I do and everything like that, it's like, well, I'm a headhunter, I'm a recruiter for the army, and no, I help staff people, and people never thought about this as a career, and so
Yeah,
people who do jump in are 99% of the time just fall into it. And
yeah,
but to your point though, I found myself in that same journey, and that's what actually led me to Teema was I knew what I didn't want. And, you know, that was one of those things where and when I found Teema, it was such a breath of fresh air to come into an organization from a place where just did a post about this where, you know, recruiting is naturally just the most competitive place in the world, right? I feel like you know, people are cutthroat, people don't want to tell you their secrets, don't want to, and all the information that they ever have had is all online, but like people just want to hoard all their data, right? And how they go about business and whatever it might be. I'm not saying you got to give us your clients or, you know, any of that stuff, but just the fact that Teema's this open book and having that collaboration within the organization, I think that was my big thing. The fees and everything was awesome. I mean, making 80% on a deal was fantastic. I loved it. But at the end of the day, what I look back on at Teema is the breath of fresh air that it was to work with people in a way that was completely and fully transparent. So I love that. But what
yeah.
what's the like what's the why, man? Why is Teema in existence today? Like why do
Yeah.
people go to you, and what's your why?
Well, great question. Obviously, what we do is no different from our competition, right? Like, but how we go about doing it, why we go about doing it is where we find, and frankly, any company will find their differentiators, right? Like, but what we do is no, we're in the staffing recruiting industry, no different from our competition, right? But how we go about doing it when we kind of look under the hood, um, and um, and why we want to do it is where we find our differentiation. And I think the why is about the purpose of any organization. Every organization has that, and they should be driven by the why, in my opinion. And we would just want to empower people to greatness. That's our purpose as the organization. We just happen to do it within the staffing and recruiting industry. So we could pick, we could be in the lawn mowing business. I mean, we could be whatever industry out there. Like we just want to empower people to greatness. And that's when we say people, it's internally at Teema. I get a real kick out of people helping people achieve their dreams and their successes, but also externally to our candidates, to our clients, to our consultants, helping them achieve greatness. And it sounds all sort of zen, like cliche-ish, but it really is true. When we get up each and every day, we have sort of a mission. A mission statement is a statement that when you get out of bed, put on your pants, get a cup of joe, walk down your office or wherever, you're kind of saying, what am I going to do today? You need to fulfill the mission, and that is to our mission is to empower, create meaningful relationships internally and externally, but just create meaningful relationships. Um, that's what you do each and every day. The purpose of things is something. What is the company going to look like and in 20 to 25 years from now. That's the vision statement. And we want to just work towards creating. It's in our industry, as you know, it's just really about people and about relationships, and if we can partake in helping people achieve greatness in what they do, um, then my epitaph is complete, frankly. And
That's
that's kind of what we do. It's just, so all things that we want to do is great, and a lot of it is about transparency. It is about a business philosophy. Every company has a business philosophy. It's just, and that's going to really drive culture. And where culture goes, so does the company as well, right? So, like for example, I'll give you a tactical sort of point on this. Like at Teema, we don't have non-competes. So when people join us, so what is a non-compete? A non-compete is driven by fear or greed or some sort of control mechanisms that companies do. And I get it and I understand that. But at Teema, our philosophy is not about doing that. Our philosophy is about empowering you, the individual, to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. A non-competes are simply something that is restrictive, and I want to build a company not based on non-competes. I want to build a business based on retention policies. Like how do we make this crazy industry of ours? How do you make it into a career? And how do you retire here? And that's what we want to create at Teema.
Yeah, and I think that's really like, again, I think you ruffled feathers when you jumped into creating Teema the way you did, right? I remember when you guys first started, and I was getting hit up when I was at Cybercoders. The perception was, oh, you get a ton of business or a ton of your commission, but at the end of the day, they're not going to support you or help you, and like that was the kind of
Yeah.
the dialogue, if you will, from the outside perspective.
Yeah.
When I jumped in, that was completely not true. And I think this is a testament to the way you've led the organization and the way the teams, have come together, and all the partners like Andrea and everybody that's there right now, Lynn Rodens, everybody, like everybody that has, been a contributing member for there. It's really interesting, like that non-compete aspect. Like I cannot tell you how good it felt to be a part of the organization when that was the case, where it wasn't a competition for me. It wasn't about me competing against you and you taking my clients or anything like that. Like I need to be scared or any of that stuff. In the way that people did their business or do their business based on your guiding principles is really amazing. So
yeah, no, it's again, it's just that business philosophy that people have, and there's different philosophies out there. I don't claim to be the only one or the best one. It's just I have to be true to who I am, right?
yeah,
As an individual.
I just think that you just embodied it, and that's
Yeah.
what's cool about it. And now, it transpires across the entire organization, not just your top billers or your new people or any stuff like that. Like it does take a kind of a reacclimation phase to, like, especially coming from that world of competitive, highly like secretive world of recruiting agency, and then going
Yeah.
into a Teema. It took me 3 to 6 months to kind of like let my guard down in a way. I was like, oh, this is too good to be true. Like somebody's gonna like screw me, like somebody. And then nobody did. Like it was crazy, because even with candidates, right? Like everybody there, I feel like when they get acclimated, they really genuinely want to help the candidate and client first. Like that is their first priority, not the fee. Like that is great if you get the money, but it's about, hey, how do I deliver? And I think that comes from, those guiding principles that you guys created.
Yeah, and I think long ago, back in the '90s, somebody told me that entrepreneurs build businesses that are a mirror image of themselves, and I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, it's very, very true. If you look at every business and you look at their founder or their leaders, whatever, it's you know it's them. It's like it's like a child. It's like if you have children, like they're half of it's your DNA, right? And they are very much like you in that sense. So um, yeah, it's just it's something. But to your point, I think you mentioned that there's this connotation where yeah, you get 80% and you're left alone, you're not getting a lot of support. And there's in the beginning, I mean, if you're comparing it to a large agency, there's some truth to that, in the sense that you've got to know what to need to do. A team, this isn't for everybody, right? This is a place where you need to know. This isn't a place for rookies, right? You got to be able to kind of understand how to recruit, because it's like or do sales and things like this. Be a professional, or work towards that. Become great at what you do, and so it isn't for everybody. But what's interesting over the years now, as we get bigger, we're able to continually add more layers of support and more layers of opportunity for our members internally. And uh, I mean, if we looked at it, we're 12, 13 years now into the business. We were very, very, very linear, very flat in the very beginnings, and for a long period of time. And it's just been in recent, well, within this last year, we've started to add depth to our org chart and opportunities for people to say, what else? What else? I mean, do I want to be run a desk for the rest of my life? Um, some, some people say, yep, I do. And others say, nope, I don't. And so we have to kind of create opportunities for people to achieve some goals in tandem with what they're currently doing now. And so we've added these depths, and we're continually adding more depths and opportunities for our members internally at Teema. So
Yeah, and that actually brings me to the next point, because if I talk to quite a bit of recruiters who are thinking about making a move on an independent level, or
yep.
because of what's going on right now, they're like, well, now's probably a good time for me to take my clients and earn more commission. But I think the big fear for a lot of people is, how do you even get started, and like with joining a team and not having the consistency of a paycheck, if you will. How can one, like, I believe you guys started some new programs to help with
Yeah.
that, right? So could you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. So up until this year, we've had everyone join as a senior associate, and the people come in. It's a pure commissioned environment, and you kind of like you get dumped into the deep end, and they're like you best know how to swim. I mean, yes, we have Teema University. Yes, we have some some incredible back office support people that can help you along in educating on our systems and our technologies and so forth. But you got to, it's tough, right? Not everyone wants to do that. So what we've created is the kiddie pool, the shallow end of the pool. So people can come in now as an associate, and we supply them with tools, greater management, greater leadership, greater hands-on sort of things, until they can get, we're creating a runway for them. And we've seen over the years that the vast majority of people um, want or need that type of support. And we provide them tools. We can provide them with draws, like some sort of like compensation, so they're not just starving and so forth. So we have those abilities now. It's case by case. Obviously, some people need more draws than others. So we're, depending on the individual, we're going to be pretty flexible with that, right? So
But yeah, and that's really good. I mean, when I started my own independent and not having a draw and like situating myself, I was lucky enough to have just sold a house, so I had a good amount of money, saved up. I was able to parlay that into making a through $200,000-$300,000 business, and that was really awesome. Being able to do that. If I didn't have that, I would be looking at the draw situation. So that's really good for the junior guys, or like the mid to senior level recruiters who are coming into the system. But what about those guys that have a team, or like
sure.
that's always been one of my questions at the end of the day.
Yeah. So if for those who are watching this or not, and not heard too much about Teema, like we really pride ourselves in having the most aggressive commission structure in the industry. And that commission structure hasn't changed in 13 years, and nor we're going to. No, we're not going to be changing that component of our commission structure for senior associates. Everyone comes in as senior. What we've done with the associates is saying, okay, you're going to come in. You're at a lower commission structure, which is still the most aggressive commission structure in the industry. But now you're going to get some really hands-on leadership for people, really one-on-one stuff, and providing you with the tools and draws and things like this until you can get to that point of becoming a senior associate and getting access to the best commission structure in the industry. So it's but really at the associate level, I would argue that it's really still the most aggressive commission structure in the industry.
Yeah.
And for those who are in leadership or want to go into leadership, we say you can build teams and you get this override. The difference between the senior associates and the associate, there's an override that gets paid to what we refer to as a partner, or in the traditional agency world, the manager, right? And so we provide that as an override until these people, either they stay at the associate level, and they need those additional tools and that support, and that's okay. Or they are ambitious and they say, I want greater commission structure. I'm good. I understand this model. I understand the importance of self-discipline, working from home and things like this. Because, a lot of people struggle with these types of, this world of Teema, because we're virtual and distributed.
I think that's a big part though, right? I mean, like I said earlier, you have to get acclimated to be able to do this. Like I'm coaching another independent recruiter right now, and he's in a situation where his first 3 months, he was in this kind of phasiness of what he had to do. He didn't know where his first deal was going to come from. It took him about 2 or 3 months to get there, and I coached him through it, and there's a lot of panic. There's a lot of like craziness. There's what tools do I use? Like all these things kind of come into play. If you don't have that guidance in the beginning, or you've never done it before, it's a really low success rate at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot more hands-on that our partners, our IE managers, that are now providing to our associates, and really walking them through, because, well, there's they get a monetary override now on this, but they want to see these generally be successful individuals so that they can continue on here. So there's just, we have, so this is a new layer for us, and a new, we're really excited about it at Teema. It's really fired up our partners, what we refer to as our partners. Our partners are, they're not partners from an equity perspective, but they have, if you become a senior partner, there's an equity piece in the organization. So we've also added a few more career sort of opportunities at Teema.
Just so everybody knows, like, so the structure goes associate, senior associate, partner, senior partner.
Correct.
Right? 4 layers now.
Yep. And to become a senior partner, you need to earn $1 million in commissions during your lifetime here. We have 5. Melvin Easthope is our latest senior partner. And Melvin, he's a good guy, and he's a great guy. We've also included now a principal associate. So say if somebody is a really big biller here at Teema, and they're like, managing, leading a team is not really my bag. It's not my cup of tea. But but I want to contribute. I want a voice to be known. I want to be known. And this equity piece that's appealing to me too. So now what we've created is a principal associate, title, where it gives them a path towards equity in the organization.
That's awesome. That's really, really good, because now you don't have to manage a team if you're not really interested in that.
But it's still a path towards equity in the organization. And so, You can take the partner route, you can take the principal associate route. And so there's this, as I've mentioned, this org chart of this career opportunities for people. And that's just on the one side. What we've also introduced is our strategy towards enterprise accounts. And that's a whole nother world of excitement at Teema that we are really bringing. And enterprise accounts is, like what by our definition is any company that has 1,000 employees or more. And as a reminder, at Teema, we 85% of our revenue, maybe 90% of our revenue is contract revenue. Okay, so we put contractors out there and so forth. Like 10 to 15% of our business is direct hire perm placement fees and so forth like that. So we do 15 to 20 million in perm fees kind of thing a year. And,
you guys got to be loving that diversity right now, though. I mean, especially during this time, it's got to be, because that's a big part of what Teema offers is that.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into my next point is like, well, before we go there, let's talk about something, because like we talked about this before. Why is it that what happens if I'm a recruiting manager, or a director, or even a VP in another firm, and I don't want to go through the associate level program again, but I have a team that I know I can bring over, create a really strong organization that way. And like, what happens there? Like, how does that work for Teema?
So you're saying what about the individual that is in a management or leadership role, has a team and wants to kind of like transplant them into Teema?
Yeah. Look, there's a company out there that's doing that right now. So that's what we're competing against, right? Like you got people who are just bringing managers over and trying to take their teams with them. So
it's an interesting discussion because before the associate platform, it would have been a dead no. No, they got to come through. You're going to have to earn your stripes to become a partner, right? With the associate layer, there's a lot more, let's call it management here at Teema than there is. There's leadership, right? But there's also management now, which, I would say mentorship as well and so forth. So we just have a lot more opportunities to look at the individual that says, you know what, can I fast track myself to partnership? Because I'm going to bring on a team here. And, we would look at that in a case-by-case basis. And really, we would sit down and kind of determine if that makes sense. Are we going to put these people in a position of success, right? And that's the key, whether it's the leader themselves and their particular team. And we would need to do that. Regardless of that, they would have at a minimum, a buddy partner working with that leader at a minimum. And so, so we would look at that in a quasi, because they need somebody that they can go to.
Latch onto, yeah.
No one's going to be alone when they come into Teema, and that is at a manager level and so forth. So, but the key thing for me is to really set those expectations from the very beginning, right? So what I've learned in business is to really set expectations on roles, responsibilities, compensation, tasks, whatever the case might be, so that we all kind of know what we're responsible for. And we would do that. And so listen, I'm very excited about an individual who is in a management leadership position and says, Brian, why don't I come over there and I can bring my entire team over here and just we can kind of, yes, I want to talk to that individual. I want to see what we can do. I'm, as much as I appreciate, policy process and so forth like this, but I also appreciate, the flexibility that we can create here at Teema. And so, but we just want to make sure that we put those people in a position of success. And that is particularly from the leader themselves and their team
I like that.
that will be coming in.
That's really cool. And that's a very, I think, a different approach than even when I started. So it's good to hear that that's
Yeah,
kind of
it
changed,
is.
and that's amazing. I mean, I know quite a few managers out there that are listening to this right now, and they're going to be like, maybe I should go to Teema. And you should. And honestly, it's a great place. So, but then the next question then comes down to like, there's a lot of recruiters out there that are just as good as their tools, if you will, right? So in Teema, the ability to deliver isn't going to be predicated on your tools, because it really, like you said, it's going to be based on how well you recruit and what you need to know. But if I need LinkedIn Recruiter, or if I have the supporting cast of tools, how does that work for you guys?
Yeah. So what we've done with all new associates that come into the business at associate level, we provide them with a tools budget, okay? And that'll range, it could be 300 to 500 a month, whatever the case may be. But what we do is we allow the associate to choose the tool of choice, okay? So they say, okay, well, what tools are you find the most effective? Because what we don't want to do is to jam a tool down someone's throat and say, well, I don't really use it, I don't really like it. It's maybe they like this tool or that tool, and so we would work with the associate and kind of, we have an a la carte tools, and they can kind of select, yep, this one, and this one. Thank you very much, and away we go. So it really is, and it's not anything that they pay for. We Teema pays the nut. So
it sounds like there's not really a lot of reasons why a good recruiter who's looking to go independent doesn't get stopped to start, right? I mean,
well, listen, yeah, okay, and I'll challenge the thought, because some people who are, the independent out there, they're a cowboy or a cowgirl, and listen, I got all the respect for them, but that cowboy cowgirl doesn't actually work at Teema. Like, it doesn't. We're a very collaborative group, transparency, and maybe they just want to kind of do their own thing and put a single shingle out, and away they go. And listen, I'm that's fine. Like, what people need to be attracted to Teema is about, well, I just don't want to do it alone, frankly. Like, I want to do it in a community. I want to go to P Club. I want to go to Teema conferences. I want to be a part of the back office. I hate administration. I don't want to send them, like, I do. We got all that, right? And so I would say to the individual who's thinking of putting a single shingle, they're like, I would say, well, what's your end game? Like, what's your long-term play here? They might be saying, well, I don't want to give up 20% to Teema. And I'm like, well, like, or they might say, well, what am I getting for 20%, of the deal? It's like, that's probably the wrong question, right? Because if you can't see, like, how do you put a monetary component to culture, to community, to the orange jacket, to leadership, to creating a competitive, cooperative environment? I call it a co-opetition type of environment. We're competitive, but we're cooperative. We're not like, and that's super important.
I did the math on it, right? Like, let's put the break even point for it not to make sense to give 20%, because you're talking about just the discounts on tools. We're talking about the ability to tap into a network whenever you need to. So you have staff. You're not paying those staff members, right? Like, you're not putting it on your own belt. The back office, the payroll, all the things, the insurance, all these things, right? Like, just literally just all the brand, right? The break even point for me, and I did the math, it would be roughly around $2 million of my own billing. So at that point, that was where it was like, does Teema make sense?
Yeah, and it's not so much even the money too. It's about the time that it would take to do all those things, right? I mean, you got to take into account that. What's your time worth? Because the time you spend into branding, marketing, and all that stuff is taking away from the things that you're really good at.
100%. And
So
that's actually what we're
that,
dealing
that
with the dilemma right now with Atalent, right? Like I'm I'm the brand guy and I'm like engaging and I'm going after things. I'm lucky enough to have my wife be my partner and I've taught her my ways of recruiting. So she's doing really well. And but at the end of the day, like I'm spending so much time building this thing up, right? So
yeah.
if I didn't have
Yeah,
that.
so that's what I tell people, like, what's your end game? If you want to put out a single shingle, don't go into business because you're just going to be a single shingle. Like, I say, if you're going to build a business, build an entity that when you die, it makes you more money when you're dead. Like that kind of concept is like, build something that's going to, if you're going to brand and build something outside of you, right? And one of the things that I always say, to people who they come to me for advice, they want to start their own business, they want to do a single shingle, they're contemplating about what to do, and I said, here's the first document that you're going to get is an org chart of your business, and it's the org chart of the future of what the future state of your business, and it has president, VPs, directors, it has back office, it has salespeople, and all that, and your name is in every single box.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the key to business is to erase your name in a particular box and put someone in there more capable and competent. Sounds like you've done that with your wife and things like, and you keep erasing your names and put someone in there more capable and competent. And then the entity becomes its own entity. Like instead of you feeding it and doing all these things, and you're running around filling this role and this role and doing this job and this job and this, like, that the time alone is crazy.
Yes.
So I always ask the question, like, what's your end game?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, is it because you want to save 20% on it? Again, that's probably not the right question to ask here. Like, if you're going to build a business and an empire in the staffing recruiting, fantastic. Like, I'd be hypocritical to say no, wouldn't I? I did it myself, right? So, and I'm always wanting to encourage entrepreneurship. But my point is that, and the other thing that people need, well, I'm going to build it and then I'm going to sell it. Well, not if you're a single entity, and not if you don't take the path of erasing your names and actually creating something. There's nobody in their right mind that's even going to be interested in buying something like that, because if you get hit by a bus, so does your business, right? So again, what's the end game? And so cowboys and cowgirls don't necessarily work well at Teema, and I don't have any. It's just that's just the truth, right? And nor does the employee mindset per se. They need to. That's why I said there's three sort of pillars that, if you're an employee mindset, not a problem. 98% of the people are in them. Well, maybe not during COVID these days. It's not. It's like, but there's, you can climb corporate ladders and titles and benefits, and nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong. Then you've got the entrepreneurs who will like risk their house and their home on a napkin idea and be just a little bit, three sheets to the wind. But they'll do that and they'll risk. But then there's this group that is a moderate risk taker. They kind of want a little bit of both, and that's where Teema is, and that's where we live, and that's where we're going to provide continual value for people, more opportunities. So
yeah, that was one of the things that I was really appreciative of in my recruiting process getting into Teema. Was it wasn't like there's no blanket put over my head of this is going to be difficult. Like this is not something that you're going to just jump in and think that the world's the way it is, right? And you're going to have a whole mindset shift. There are going to be people who really thrive at Teema and people who don't thrive at Teema. You could have been a big biller somewhere else. And it's funny because leaving Teema, and I hear, like from other recruiting managers who are trying to recruit other recruiters, and they ask me like all the time, like, what do you think of Teema? Like, I'm like, I love Teema. And they're like, well, why did you leave? And I'm like, honestly, like, I just wanted to do my own thing and learn what it took to build a business of my own, right? So that's the only reason I left. But at the end of the day, like, I have nothing bad to say about you guys. In fact, I encourage literally every recruiter that I talk to, go check out Teema for a little while and see what it's like, because it's a completely different experience. And if you thrive in it, I guarantee you probably won't leave it. And then, like, again, unless you get the entrepreneurial itch, right? That's the only time I think anyone's really leaving, is just like, cause like, oh, I want to build it on my own, and that's fine. Like you said, like that is completely okay. But
Yeah, we don't
um,
stop people. Yeah.
what's that?
Yeah, we don't stop people like that. We understand. Like, again, I'm not going to be hypocritical to say if somebody has ambitions for greater things outside of Teema, like, and they want to sow those oats, then I'm here to support them. I'm here to
Yeah,
support you, Will. I'm here to support. I get a kick out of those things, honestly. And it's not for me. It's not about the money or power. In fact, I want less power in my world. Like, I don't like power per se. There's a concept of control from a cultural perspective that I need to make sure that I'm aware of. But other than that, I don't want me. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, I like a lifestyle. I mean, I like to work hard, but I play hard too, and I like that flexibility, and I expect that with everyone else internally. I mean, this coming to Teema doesn't make the staffing recruiting industry any easier. It could
No.
make it even harder, right?
No, it just depends on where your mindset is. Exactly back to your point, which is, are you coming in to just, do your own thing? If that's the case, then you're probably a lone cowgirl or cowboy, like you were saying, as you put it. You probably it's probably not going to do anything for you, right? If you're looking for that community and you're looking for support and, education and constantly sharpening your skills and then having the benefits of an agency lifestyle where it's you can go to P Club, there's competition and all that stuff, and like at the end of the day, like when I joined Teema, I expected to join and see people at lower numbers than what I was seeing at other companies because there was far less greater tools or whatever, or like there's no proprietary ATS or all this stuff, like, and so like everything that everybody's like trying to like pivot towards and trying to differentiate on. And I was like, oh, well, they don't have that. So I don't know if like people are probably just doing 100K. In reality, though, there's bigger billers than I've ever seen at any other agency, making $600,000, $700,000, some
Yeah.
$1 million a year that on their commission, not even just their billing, right? Like that's
Yeah. Our top biller are always making over seven figures a year in commissions. But one of the hardest working people. I mean, and we have our big billers are between 500 and a million, like
yeah.
In earnings.
That's in earnings, and which is crazy because that's also, if you take the numbers, that's like still 600, 700, $800,000 in on your low end of your top billers of billing, right? So
Right.
again, it's contrary. It's contrary to what people believe to be true about needing an agency to be able to bill big, and I love that.
Yeah. No.
So
But they work hard, right? Like success is. You know, I'm a big believer. I don't. Success is person relative. Meaning your definition of success is different from mine, and mine is different from so on and so forth. And I'm not here to change it. I'm just here to understand people's definition of success, and I'm going to help them achieve it. Empowering people to greatness, because like if I can help them achieve their definition of success, that's a form of greatness. Like you're like, wow, I can, and that's what we do. Like because every success definition is different from person to person. So we're not here to tell you, well, you got to build this. No, like what do you need? What do you want? What's your stretch goal? Your BHOG. And if we can help them achieve these things, then we're doing our part to help people uh, generate wealth, not income, but wealth. You can generate income anywhere, really. But what we want to teach is to teach people how to generate wealth. Because once you've learned how to generate wealth, it's a skill set that you can take anywhere. You don't need anything in anybody if you've learned it yourself. You don't need Teema, you don't need anything. But the cool thing is that all our top billers, how great they are. They're just good human beings. They give and they're givers, and they choose to be here, right? So, and that's just the cool thing about it. It's very rare, I find, that say, generally, top billers are like, they're kind of woo, right? Man, you won't be around them for a while, but that's not the case. They're genuinely good human beings on and off the field, and that's a cultural thing, right? That really is different.
I love it. Last question, because I know that we're running short on time here. I don't want to keep you too much longer. Where does recruiting go from here? I mean, COVID-19, it's kind of an offshoot
Yeah.
question. Everything is happening right now, and you can put it in the context of how a recruiter and Teema work together. You can put it in context of recruiting in general. Like where does recruiting go from this point as a leader?
Um, it evolves obviously. If you just at a high level, back in the 80s, you had the fax machine, right? The first person in the office got the resumes. There was no database, that kind of, they just headhunted. Nowadays, if you look at it from there to now, it's evolved, right? It's changed. Um, the need for recruitment, the need for our services actually has increased, right? So it changes so in another 20, 30 years, it's the need for our services are going to be there. The TV didn't replace the radio. Everyone thought that, it was coming. It just evolves, it changes. And so there's going to be a lot more machine learning, a lot more AI, a lot more technology involved in it. But at the end of the day, it's still a people person, the touch-based business, right? Because we're not selling a static, phone that has static features and functions. We're dealing with people that are, you know, um, they're they're kind of, at times they're unpredictable. Let's just put it that way.
You're dealing
And
with human
and
beings.
so we're not going to remove the people person of this. And so what will happen is, um, and this is where the generalist is going to disappear, okay, in recruiting. And it really kind of has over the past 10 to 15 years. But as the economy, as the when it cools down, as an example, like in COVID, and we'll go through this U-shaped change or recovery, but you'll really see that the generalists get wiped out right away. Um, and it's the experts who are fine-tuned and focused in their trade and their craft or their industry. um, they're the ones that will come and emerge out to be well. So the point is that we've had a really great run for the 10, 12 plus years here. So there hasn't been a real deep need to become an expert in particular areas. So we've gotten away with a generalist capacity, but um, the evolution will let you become an expert in what you do and become, because that's where the big margins are, the big fish down at the bottom of the lake. You go deep into the industry that you're at, and it's where the minnows are up top, right? And they just get decimated, right? They get wiped out.
That's exactly my perspective too, because at the end of the day, generalists, we've as a recruiting industry, the recruiting industry had it easy. Like you could literally put a seat or a button in a seat, and that person could go on the job boards, blast a bunch of people and get paid very well.
Yeah.
And people are still doing that today because like I know for a fact that there are people that are doing hundreds of emails a day, reaching out to every single job on the job boards, and just like panic, reaching out. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
that's going to burn your brand. That's going to burn your whole entire organization in the long run. Because right now, like if you're reaching out, if you're a manufacturing recruiter and you're reaching out to a software engineer job and you can't deliver, or you don't even know what like you're even talking about, like you're going to get crushed.
Yeah.
And all that's going to do is just put a stink on your brand. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And to your point, it doesn't matter how much AI or machine learning or technology or tools. In fact, I think tools kind of put a hindrance in a way, certain tools, on
Yep.
your ability to actually do the job.
You
Because
bet.
like, for example, LinkedIn Recruiter, like I love LinkedIn Recruiter. I think it's a great tool, but I've also noticed that people rely on the fact that people are going to put their finger up on LinkedIn to say, hey, I'm open to new opportunities. But guess what? That person has now been reached out to by every other recruiter. You're amongst many other recruiters, internal, external, you're competing, and you just give up on the people who haven't put their finger out, or you're not actually like reaching out to those people and like creating a relationship long term. You're just looking for that quick buck. So
Yep.
some tools are really interesting in use cases, but there's other tools that are, I think, just make you weak, if you will.
You're right, and this is such a great industry. I mean, the concepts of being this sort of agent middleman for people's lives and their destiny and where they want to go, and the company's direction of human capital management and growth. I mean, we're it's a big responsibility, and we have to take it seriously, and we just learn to appreciate both sides, and the better we can manage both groups, we're going to get greater satisfaction. And that's where I always tell people there's no shame to become great at what we do. And I think that's where that's going to evolve. You know, if you looked at 30 years ago, 40 years ago, getting a degree was something, you know, in university or post-ed was like, wow, you're smart, you're above everything. Now it's like, you know, if you don't have a master's, you're nothing. Like, you get a doctor's, like the bar raises, right? And so we have to kind of understand what that is, and and candidates and clients kind of know. Well, they don't kind of know. They know if you're good or not, right? It just by talking with you, the types of questions that you ask a candidate or the client, and these types of things that will set things up. And for those of us who are experts, that there's plenty of opportunities out there. Like, so, but it's going to evolve. It's going to change. But my aspect is that let's just be the agent of change.
Yeah.
Let's continue with that mindset that we dictate the change, because it's better to do that than to be a victim of it.
I appreciate this, Brian. If the people wanted to get a hold of you, wanted to learn more about Teema, and just get to know you a little bit more, how would they reach you?
You can send it to my email address, bantenbring@teemagroup.com. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. And they can get a hold of you. You can get a hold of me. I mean, you're my inner circle here, Will. So, but apart from that, I think that's probably the best way. And then I'm happy to chat with anybody and their journey of you know, in this industry or where they're going, and you know, that's what I love to do. So
awesome. Well, Brian, again, thank you so much for jumping on, and I hope everyone got some value out of it. Got a little bit of a deeper knowledge of what Teema does and your leadership style. And even if you don't join Teema, you at least take something from what Brian's brought here. But you know, take a look at Teema. Again, you're literally the only person that I would have come on from a leadership perspective from another organization to talk about this. So
listen, I appreciate the kind words, Will. You're a great man, and you know, and congratulations on your 1st year anniversary.
Woo! Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right.